Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Paranormal Karen. I am loving this year's guests. I just want to say, and today is no different. I think that we are in September, and this is what I want to say. If you live in Arkansas near the Fayetteville Airport, I'm coming your way. In October, I'm coming to a club called The Grove. And I'm super excited. That's going to be a weekend at the Grove in Arkansas. Never been to Arkansas. Here there's a lot of crystal stuff and blah, blah, blah. So excited about Arkansas, which means now there are only 2 states in the United States I have not played as a comedian. Woohoo! Also, don't forget, we're going to do a show, maybe it's already up, about the Cambry House that I'm going to be in Halloween weekend. So, but today, let's do it. So excited about this lady. She did a human design chart on me, and the computer exploded with sexiness. I'm just kidding. Michelle Johnston is here with me today. Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Karen, I'm great, and thank you for such a fun intro.
You are super fun. And you and I have had conversations and fun, and you went over my chart, and it was a blast, and it was so fascinating. But let's start here, because we're going to talk about human design, which is just, it's like the next, would you say it's like the next level of astrology, or it's different?
Yeah, it's really similar to astrology. And, astrology is so vast, and I think human design may be a little bit more accessible to the everyday person.
Oh, great.
I say that, but we don't know if that's true or not, but that's how it feels.
No, it was when you showed me my chart and went at it with me. But let's start here, my friend. What kind of brought you to the paranormal or the metaphysical world or the human design world?
Oh, I love that question. Okay. So, it's really interesting. I grew up in a household that had no religion and no talk of God or spirituality. And I was 9, and I said to my parents one day, hey, just doing the dishes, do you guys believe in God? And they both said, yeah, we do. And I was floored.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was having like a mini identity crisis. And I said, well, should I believe in God? And they said, well, do you want to believe in God? I said, no, I don't think so, which is so wacky. And so they said, sure, great, do whatever you want. And so what that allowed me to do was to have zero attachment to any way of filtering the world in terms of a spiritual, religious, in a lens that way. And so when I got to be in my 20s and I was having really interesting conversations with people I worked with and friends, it really allowed my mind to be blown wide open to sort of the mystical realm. And I think it all has to do with the lack of programming growing up.
I love that word programming, because what's funny to me is, like, if they're like, do you want to believe in God? And if you were just like, you know what, I'm actually good with Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, because the payoff is much better. I think that's so fascinating. So did they, so they just didn't want you to be indoctrinated into some beliefs that would stick with you forever?
Yeah. My mom grew up Catholic, and I don't think my dad grew up with any talk of religion at all. And my mom would say from that point on, if God or religion came up, she would say, I think you can worship wherever. You don't need to go to a church. You don't need to be anywhere other than where you are. And so I started to get like those types of messages from her. And I thought, okay. And she was really, really serious about that point. So it was super, super fascinating. And then when I guess I was in my early 20s, I had a government job, if you can believe that. Working for the provincial government here in Ontario, which is like the state level government. And I worked with a woman who was super into astrology. And I would say that was the first time that my feet were firmly planted in the esoteric realm.
Wow. I have to say, I'm fascinated with your parents. What did they do for a living?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, they are fascinating. My mom, they're both very artistic. So that's the first thing. They're very right-brained individuals. They worked at that time together at an aerospace company that made the guidance systems for like, Army. Listen to me. I have no idea.
So something simple, something very simple.
Yeah, something basic.
What?
Basic.
So they were scientists.
They do have scientific minds. Yeah. My dad, he became really well known in his career as putting together ISO standards for organizations. So I don't really know what that is, but it's like...
I still don't know anything that they do, but I'm so impressed with them. I am so impressed.
Yeah. My dad, so he basically did a lot of quality assurance in the automotive industry later on.
Okay.
And then my mom went into work in the field of autism in the school systems and really made a name for herself in that way. Her design, her human design is really interesting. And she has really keen insights, really beyond where people are today. And when she speaks, people listen because she awakens a truth in them that they didn't even know was there. So was a really cool mom to grow up with.
Wow. Yes, your parent. At the very least, it's fascinating who they are, which shaped you. And it is. I was just talking to someone, and this is terrible. And I don't want to isolate people, so I'm going to try and leave this general. But we were talking. Someone had a friend with a very, very different belief than her. Like head-buttingly different. And she said, well, I know that's how that person was brought up. So that's why that person thinks like that. And I thought, that's exactly the person that doesn't appeal to me, because they are not thinking for themselves. They're just doing what they're told, which is probably... Everybody that listens to my podcast in the showbiz community is like, yeah, we're here because we don't listen. So that's a great background. So your friend that got you into astrology, how did that lead to human design?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when she started sharing astrology with me, I noticed it was the first time in my life I noticed I was able to take what I had heard or read and imprint it on my mind no matter what. So I would be really fun at parties, oh, I'm Taurus. Tell me about that. And I started to have my own observations. And so I was like, oh, I think I'm really meant to understand astrology. So really, I just did some basic stuff with it and put it on a shelf, and got on to...
Yeah, it helped you navigate.
Yeah, it did help me navigate. And then from there, my design is one that gets very interested in all kinds of things. And I sort of have to go into the heart of whatever is tickling my fancy at that time of my life. And so when human design crossed into my awareness, like all good things in my life, I found it on Instagram. And just this woman I knew said, hey, anybody ever heard of human design? If you're interested, send me a message. And we had the most intense back and forth exchange through the messenger portion there. Yeah. And I just was like, oh my God, I'm hungry for more. What else can you tell me? And it was like she couldn't give me enough. I just wanted more. So that spurred a 2-year intense dive into human design where I literally could not let go. I probably still in that place today.
Now, yes. Now, I know it's fun. That's how tarot is for me. I just did a Facebook Live with tarot, and I was like, can I talk for a half an hour? Not even a quarter of the way through, and I was over time. When you get a little, I always say, Phil, there was a show called News Radio, and Phil Hartman was on it, and he was trying to quit smoking, and he kept saying, I can't, because my cigarettes, they're like my little friends. And that's what I feel like with tarot, like they're my little friends. So human design is your little friends. So tell everyone, can you give us like it's a hard description. Can you tell them what human design is?
Oh, sure. And I think it's really important to kind of lay that foundation. So it's fairly new. It's a synthesis of 4 major different esoteric, I don't know, I want to say schools of thought modalities that was intuited and downloaded as early as 1987. So this Canadian fellow whose actual name I always get wrong, he's no longer with us, but he went by the name of Ra Uruhu, which is like kind of a strange name. People will call him Ra. So he was on the island of Ibiza. Kind of, I get the impression he was sort of in like a bender phase of his life.
Wait, where's that island? And he's drunk? Is that a bender? What's happening?
Yeah. He's like completely partying. His life isn't really working. Ibiza is one of those like party islands.
I
it
like
associated with Spain?
I'm with
right?
Now,
he sounds fun.
All
he
right.
sounds so fun. And he had this metaphysical experience where he was sort of staying in this strange little cave-like dwelling. Like it was a home, but it was really rudimentary. And he had this 8-day process where his body was taken over. And it all sounds kind of crazy. But in that time, he was shown how to map. So here are the different modalities. He was shown how to map astrology with the I Ching, with the Tree of Life, with the chakra system, and to use people's birth date, time, and place to map out a whole blueprint that would help them understand potentially who they were designed to be in this life.
My favorite astrology guy continually interacts astrology, I Ching. So, but essentially all these things should interact.
Yeah. And the way that they do is really quite a marvel. What I love about human design is there's so much there to tap into. You really could spend your entire life investigating, using human design as a lens through which you evaluate your day-to-day interactions. It's so vast.
It is. And we didn't even, I think I talked to you for an hour. Of course, we were laughing and having fun half the time. But it was so interesting. So, kind of a bizarre question. Is this for anybody? Is it for people who feel lost? Who would be the when someone calls you and goes, I just am curious, what is your favorite like sort of intro to human design?
Yeah, I think it is for everybody. And what's always interesting to me is when I'm reading the chart for somebody. So again, like maybe this is a party trick and my aunt says, hey, can you do so-and-so's chart over here? I was blow them away. And they're like, they're not impressed at all. Every so often that happens. And so, I do think it's for everybody. When I meet somebody like that, and it does happen every so often, what I'm noticing is how they were brought up, their programming. So recently I did a reading for a gentleman who I find out was brought up in a very religious community, small community. You did the right thing. You helped people if you wanted to or not. And so when I was reading his chart, he's really designed to be like a firecracker and into all kinds of stuff. And he does not present that way. So it can be challenging for people who are really committed to the identity that they've built for themselves.
Right.
For the rest of us, what we like about human design is the mirror that it holds up, and we can kind of evaluate, okay, this is who I am today, or this is how I've been operating my life. If I ping that against what my design says, quote, I should be looking like or operating as, well, that gives me a bit of a gap that I can evaluate myself in between. So that's what I've been finding. And people mostly want to know more about themselves. Like, how can I be the best version? How can I deal with challenges that seem to follow me everywhere?
That's such an interesting, and actually this has happened this year, and I don't ever remember this happening, which is either people booking readings that I read for this woman that she made me crazy. She was like, she opens with, I don't usually like this stuff, but so-and-so said something about you. So already I'm in a challenged position. And then she kept moving her phone. She wanted to FaceTime, which I'm almost done with that because it's distracting. And she was in her car and her phone was getting hot and she's moving the phone. She's not listening and then going, well, then what are you talking about? And I almost never get readings like that where I'm like, if you want, usually when you get a reading, someone sits down and wants to listen. But even, that is the trouble of like when it's a party trick or something and people are half invested. But yeah, folks, they should have a human design that is like, doesn't believe in human design.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a great way to say it. People that want to know themselves better. And I feel like this kind of thing A lot of people are indecisive. That's why they would seek a tarot reader or something like this. And sometimes if they know themselves better through stuff like this, they become more decisive.
Mm-hmm. I would say so. And that's actually been my experience. So through working with human design on a daily basis, because I can't help myself, it's just so, I'm so drawn to do that. I do know myself at such a deep level in a way that I didn't before. So when I book a session, like with you, for example, I book a tarot session with you, it's going to be different than it would have been a few years ago, right? So I would come to you really, I'm really blind to this area of my life. I've tried, I've looked, nothing's working. And so I'll work with someone like you very strategically to kind of get into some of the nooks and crannies that I haven't been able to do before. Right. Whereas before I had insight into myself, I was like a bewildered individual, like somebody help me,
It is you know what? This is a really good analogy. In fact, I don't even know if we got to talking about love and my human design, because that's my stumble block. But it's interesting about, are you a ship that's just floating away to sea, or are you driving your ship? Because I hear so many, and that's kind of what the healing community is about, it's about somehow taking responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. So if in other words, if you're just like, well, this always happens to me, human design or all this stuff is for going, well, why? What is the pattern I have set up that does this? And also, human design has a real clarity to it. That is very different.
Yeah, it does. And so interesting to talk about aspects like relationships. That's definitely an area that I will say it was working when I was younger. And then in my mid-20s to early 30s, it was very clear that the rules had changed and nobody updated me on what the rules were. And so I was like completely lost. And then when I started to understand a little bit about my mechanisms and all that kind of stuff, it became a little more clear. What I find really interesting, and I do see it, I do see this when I'm doing readings or coaching people on a longer basis, they will have very specific strategies that we set out for them. Here's literally what you need to play with. Try this out, ping it off a couple of situations in your life and see if you can move the needle more towards the direction you want it to go in. And people will be stuck. They'll be stuck. They think they need life to be hard, or they maybe don't trust that doing something a different way is what's available to them. And I feel like I just keep going, okay, let's go back to your strategy with human design. I don't see you implementing that. Why not? What could we do differently? And can you play with this? Like this week, I have a woman who, just feels really stuck in her business. And I'm just like, okay, you're not living your design. And I could totally see how easy it would be if she could just fall into what we're talking about.
And you'll probably pound that down and pound it, and she won't get it, and she won't get it. And all of a sudden she'll get it, and everything will be worth it. Because I think that's what we are also stuck. That's what this transition is about. And, oh my God, I can't believe we're already to 19 minutes. Okay. Hold on one second. And, we'll be right back with Michelle. And Michelle, you're going to sort of explain human design to us. Okay, folks, hold on. Hey, everybody, want to get some comedy dates out to you. October 16th and 17th, you can see me in Lowell, Arkansas at the Grove Comedy Club. I'm so excited. Never been to Arkansas. Please come out and say hello. That is the Grove Comedy Club. Tickets are on sale already at the website. Halloween weekend is going to be huge. October 29th through the 31st. Giant Halloween shows at Zany's Rosemont. That's right, Chicago. I'm coming back. It hasn't even been a month. Zany's Rosemont. I'm doing the psychic stand-up show. I'm doing a special paranormal show. Get tickets now at zanys.com. Also, that Saturday afternoon, I will be doing an extra show at the Cambry House, which is in Illinois. Please go to cambryhouse.com. You can look at ticket prices and everything going on there. So October 16th and 17th, Lowell, Arkansas. Thursday, the 29th through the 31st, Rosemont, Zanies, and the Cambry House. Saturday afternoon, the 31st. I can't wait. It's going to be a full moon. Okay, so we're back. So now I'm going to just leave that open and let you take that question however you like. You can tell them what or how you do human design. I'm just going to let you go. Let you roll.
Okay. So what's really interesting about human design, I see it, people who like to build computers, and I don't know if you know anybody like that, but they'll take a computer apart, right? They'll buy pieces you didn't even know were available. Right. They're uploading them. I find human design feels like that to me. It feels like we start at a base level, and I'll explain what those core pieces are we're looking at right off the bat. As you gain mastery with the basics, we kind of get a USB key and we plug in some new programming. We take a look at deeper and deeper levels. It is endlessly fascinating. So one of the first things that I like to do with people is explain what their energy looks like, how their energy is actually designed to move in the world. And this would be what we call your human design type. And this is really where we start. This is the foundation. So we have 5 different types.
And I have mine open. I'm opening mine as we talk in case.
Okay.
And you can point to me and all my errors or whatever if you choose.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can chat about your chart. Any piece of it we can. I've got it up here too. Yeah. So there are generators. And generators are here to really get stuff done. They have, I am not a generator, so I am constantly in awe. You're a generator. Constantly in awe of the consistent energy that a generator will have.
That's me. I
right?
can't sit still. Yeah.
And I'm just like, is it nap time yet? I'm tired watching you. And it's a marvel. So 70% of the people are a generator type. Then we have manifestors, and manifestors are here to make an impact on the world. They have big energy. You usually notice them when they're in the room with you. They're really here to kind of get the party started, get people excited about a new way of thinking about things. They're really birthing sort of new concepts, anchoring them onto the planet. Then we have projectors, and all these names are kind of funny. They really are. So if we can have a bit of fun with them and not take them too seriously, sure. I think that we do so much better.
Because we always want to label it negative or positive, and that's not a thing.
Totally. Like people will say, but I'm not a manifester, but I manifest. It's like, yes, you definitely do.
Right. We're all a little of everything. Yes.
Exactly. Projectors I love. Projectors are, they have keen insights into people, situations. They have an aura that is very penetrating. So if you have a projector in your life, just you're best not to try to lie to them because they will see right through it.
Probably a good lesson anyways. Probably not to lie.
Yeah. You can feel really great about yourself if that's not a stumbling block for you to worry about. So projectors are really great at orchestrating. They make amazing managers because they can kind of see the bigger picture. They can move the chess pieces just where they need to be. And if you've got a projector in your life who knows they're a projector and who is really recognized for that gift that they bring, they can just be the most wonderful asset, to bounce things off of and things. I love projectors. I love all the types. We have manifest. Sorry, were you going to say something, Karen?
I was just going to say, is a projector like the friend that always gives good advice?
Yeah, that would be like, of course, we can all give really good advice. But yeah, projectors, if they are, if they're adjusted to what their role is, they will just, by asking them to give advice, it's like you've just fed them the most nutritious food. It's so nourishing for them to be asked to make that contribution.
And of course, everything have its flip side, which is if they're that good, they could also be manipulators, right?
They can be manipulators, but they can also be so on the nose. And if you're not ready for it, and if you haven't asked for it, it can be like, "Ooh, I need to take a pause, projector. That was a little too exposing." Yeah, a little much. So with them, really interestingly, we're just pausing here, I guess, on projectors for a second, because they are so fascinating. One of the things that I would encourage a projector to do is to just wait, to just sit back, watch and wait. until somebody has made a genuine request for whatever the information is that they hold.
Okay.
As soon as that connection is made, as soon as the projector has an invitation to share those on the nose insights, both people feel so elevated. So that invitation really needs to be there.
Wow. Awesome. Okay. And so did we get 3? We got 1 left.
No, we only got, so we've got reflectors. Reflectors are here to really mirror back to us as society. They're kind of like the canary in the coal mine. They're like, you might not want to do that. Or, they let us know where we're at beyond our own consciousness. And the manifesting generators are a hybrid of generators who are here to really get stuff done and manifestors who are here to make an impact. So you've got these 5 different energies bumping around in the world. And so how do you work, how do you honor each one in a way that works for everybody?
Now, is everybody, obviously everybody's a little bit of one, but that mutation, where it's a generator manifester, do the other ones do that too, or just generator manifester?
Yeah, that's the only one in the energy types that overlap like that, 2 into 1.
Okay.
What's interesting about human design, and this, you're right, we do all have parts of one another in our design. So as we get more detailed, you'll see. So for example, there's a part in my chart, which is a projected aspect. Even though I'm a manifester, I'm here to just catalyze. I have what's called the channel of the brainwave. And I only share this with you just because it's a clear example that I have.
Sure.
I've got this channel that has keen insights into what would be helpful and actionable for others. I can't use it on myself.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, which is frustrating. But when I understand that, know how to use this, it is a projected channel. So it is flavored with projector energy. So even though I may be a manifester, if I don't wait for somebody to come to me and say, hey, what do you think about this piece of my business? I will alienate them because it will be so on the nose. If they're not ready, they'll either love me to death or hate me. So I have to use I have to understand what a projector is in general to know how to use that aspect of my chart effectively. It's really fascinating.
It is. And so I am sitting here, I am called a pure generator. So does everybody get that word pure?
They do. And I think what they're trying to, yes. Now, can you hold on to that title? No, I'm kidding. So what we're getting at here is, so you would either be, it's just saying you don't have, you're not a manifesting generator, you're a pure generator.
Okay. Oh, got it. Right. Okay. And not to jump ahead, but my profile type is role model / hermit. Is that hermit? Is that from tarot, or we don't know, or it's just a different thing?
I don't. It may be. It's not something I've seen. So your profile, we'll talk about that because that's a really good question and a really good thing to look at. So one of the foundational pieces that we do look at would be your profile type. So you have 2 numbers. You have the role model / hermit, and we would call you a 6-2. There's just 6 different lines of profiles. Number 6 happens to be called the role model. Number 2 is the hermit. So I think, again, the language is a bit interesting. I think what it's getting at is really just the quality, like what that profile quality is. And our profiles, the best way to explain what they are, our profiles are the character that we play in life. So you having the hermit in there, it just means there's times in your life where it feels really good to be at home.
Yes, and if it's anything like the tarot card, that's very it's very astute. To very, very and the hermit, who I'm pretty much a loner, so that word is great. But in tarot, it's about the person that's trying to get to the top of the mountain because they want knowledge. They want to know that So it fits perfect. So there we go. Okay.
Yeah. Super fascinating. So there are 12 different combinations of profile types. And honestly, we could go down like a rabbit hole every turn we go here, but I love the profile types. It was actually in me, okay, my energy, you know, understanding the how my aura works, that was sure. I mean, I understood that. But then when I looked at the profile, it was like, oh my God, that's why dating didn't work out for me. I
Go
see.
into that a little bit. Like
Okay.
you were, go ahead and see what works out.
Yeah, for sure. So, so in human design, I have what's called a 1-3 profile. The 1 relates to the line of the investigator or the researcher. And the 3 is, okay, classically in human design, it's called the martyr, which is just terrible. What it's referring to is a person who will do a lot of trial and error, learning how things work by learning how they don't work. Yeah. When somebody has a 3 in their profile line, it's really interesting. So I was working with a woman actually, so we'll just talk about her for a sec because it's interesting. She consciously goes through life experimenting, but she didn't know this about herself. She was like, oh my gosh, life isn't easy for me. It's always a struggle. And, you know, we looked at why that was. And I said, well, you've got this experimental nature to yourself. You've literally got to bump up into life to get the, you know, like Super Mario, when you bump up and you hit the block and like a mushroom comes out and I didn't know that was there. That's how a 3 goes through life. They sort of bump up against things and think, oh, I didn't know. So making mistakes is very revealing for them.
And in this society where people seem to think it's wrong to be a jack of all trades or have a lot of things, she probably thought she was doing. That's a great analysis there.
Yeah. And, you know, and we started talking about programming and conditioning. And so human design is really here for us to show us where we have been programmed. And it gives us a kind of an escape route. Okay, I don't like that programming anymore. Well, I'm going to divert my energy and be this different way. I'm going to try it out, what human design says, and see if that makes an impact beyond what I've already been doing. So you're right. What happens with people who have this 3rd line, the trial and error, the experimenter, they're vastly judged by the rest of the world. Well, you should just have things sorted out. You should know how to do things. You should know that wasn't going to work. They literally they cannot see beyond the next step. If I meet somebody who's I would say a very open 3, they've done a lot of work on themselves. They've dropped a lot of their shame programming and all that kind of stuff. I'll say, you're designed to learn through making mistakes. The best one I ever had was this woman said, hell yeah, I love mistakes. I was like, what a difference, you know? And she says, yeah, for me, I just know that's where the gold is. And I thought, wow, we really don't allow people. No, we make it wrong. But for some people, that's literally their process.
Wow. And they probably are helping everyone else by making that mistake.
Yes.
They're the reason why you get a plastic bag that says, this is not a toy.
Exactly.
Someone was playing with that. 3 was playing with that and they suffocated.
Exactly. So, you know, when you look at dating, someone like me who has the 3rd line and so with the profiles, you'll have 2 numbers. The first number is what you're very conscious of. You know, I know that's who I am. So that hell yeah, I love making mistakes. Her 3rd line was conscious to her. She was very aware of the gift in that. Somebody else who's got that, like me, that's unconscious. That's my 2nd number that shows up. I don't want to make mistakes. I didn't want to make mistakes. And so dating, I was just like, oh my God, rather than going, there's gifts in here. Okay, it's not working. How can I learn something from every failed relationship? Instead of doing that for a million years, I beat myself up. I compared myself to others. And then I was able to go, oh, okay, life is literally holding a mirror up to me. And I have an opportunity to try something new every time I go on a date or whatever. So it can be really liberating to know that there's nothing wrong with you if things aren't working right off the bat.
You know, that's interesting because so my second, which would be the hidden, which is the Hermit.
Yep.
That could be my dating problem also, that I really do like being alone.
Yes. What's really interesting about the Hermit, I find everything so interesting. Hermits are inherently, there's like a genius in there.
Of course.
Yes. All praise the Hermit. But the Hermit will be selective over who they're going to share their genius with. And they need to be coaxed out a little bit.
Maybe that's why mine hasn't surfaced yet. Maybe I haven't met the person to surface my genius yet.
Yeah.
Well, it really is very interesting. I think you nailed it, because when you were talking about your dating thing, I really think that's mine, is I don't want someone that's around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That sounds good.
So I know. So that's okay. Great. How fascinating. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a good way to make people that this is part of the New Age movement. I love that. Realizing who you are with no shame.
Yeah. And, I've been working with my cousin. So my cousin is adorable, first of all. She's a lot younger than I am, more than 10 years younger. She has rheumatoid arthritis, diagnosed at 12 or 13, was on track to be a professional basketball player, and then the joints give out. And she's rebuilt her life in the most beautiful way. She went back to nutrition school to learn how to holistically heal her body. She's in remission, medicine free. Wow. She's a meditation instructor. She just got her yoga certification, and she has the Hermit as the first line. And I don't think she would mind that we're sharing this. It's been really beautiful to watch her. And I would say, Katie, oh my gosh, you are inherently genius. Anybody would want to work with you because look what you've done with your life. Right. But the Hermit doesn't necessarily go, like, they're not going to brag about themselves. They're very humble in a way. I don't know, Karen, are they?
I don't have that.
That's because it's your second line.
First line, I think I'm a role model. So I would say, well, you know what else the Hermit would apply to her in is she really, probably at the time it didn't feel like it, but looking back now, she had a very specific path that only she could do, that somebody else couldn't tell her, you should do this. Like her whole life was designed by that path.
Absolutely. And it's really beautiful when we look at it that way. Part of what's been really fun working with her in her design, in her business, is when the Hermit shows up as the first line, that conscious identity piece, whereas yours is the second line, the unconscious. So when it's conscious, one of the strategies that I give people, one of the strategies I've given to her is you need a really awesome posse around you. You need people, let's say 5 people who really see you, who really get you, who have all the time in the world for questions you have, things you want to check out with your business. Does this make sense? Because it's in that interaction that she will have with really healthy-minded people who get her that she will go, oh, I do have these strengths and talents. Because her Hermit, she says, I'm really happy to just, be at home and research and do all the things I love. And then when I go to share it with the world, it's a very different reality. And it's like, yes, you need people mirroring your amazingness around you because your Hermit wants to be at home.
And boy, it's amazing how much tarot is coming in with this. Is the Hermit is on the one straight and narrow path. So to have someone else tap you on the shoulder, that's like with my tarot class. My friend tapped me on the shoulder. I'm a publicist. You got to do this, and I was like, what? And so the Hermit is on that one straightaway and not seeing all the paths that are. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I really love that you're able to make that connection with tarot. I don't know a lot. I don't know enough about it, but it is fascinating to me. Probably will do your course at some point. Awesome. Yeah. So I love that you're able to see that. And that's what's endlessly fascinating about human design is you can just be doing your life and go, oh my gosh, this really fits in. Oh, there's no disconnect. I can fit my authentic life inside of this modality quite easily.
Right. Awesome. Okay. Keep going. I'm fascinated. Oh, wait. Hang on. We're already at a break. Hold on one second. We'll be right back, folks. This is great. psychic medium and buddy of mine, Terry Huberman, is with me today. Terry, you've given me so many great readings and healings, and now you've got everything together in one package. Tell me about that.
I sure do. So this package has energy healings, readings, and coaching.
Coaching, that's the best. And people, they buy the package. You give them coaching once a week?
Yeah, so we meet online once a week, and in between there's support as well.
And who would this be for?
This is really for folks who are in indecision, needing to get into their intuition because they're blocked or stuck. They need to move forward. And so we explore what the root causes of the problems are.
And helps them get out of their own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terrific. And what can they expect from this?
Sure. So moving from anxiousness to confidence, accessing their freedom, joy, and security, and really being in alignment with themselves so they have that clear direction, so they know, aha, this is what I need to do next to reach my goals.
So now there's something that's free so people can talk to you and see if this is for them.
Yeah, absolutely. On my website, terryhuberman.com, there is a page where you can click, and it's the intuitive coaching package. And there is a button there that says schedule a free call. So you go ahead, schedule it. We'll get on a call and you can learn more about this program, and we'll see if this is a good fit for you or not.
See if there's chemistry.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's an odd date.
terryhuberman.com, TerrieHuberman. I highly recommend it, folks. Okay, so we're only to the second thing on the thing. We're only
I know. I was just thinking that.
Sorry, I forgot to silence my phone. You didn't get a text. That was mine. Okay, then I'm going to let you rattle and try and stop talking. Okay.
Oh. Amazing. So so the profiles are really, really fascinating. And I just want to kind of talk about yours for a second, your role model piece, because I'm super envious of that. The sixth line. So you're a conscious role model. So what's really cool about that line is the six is a person who has three distinct phases in their life. So you get to play three different characters throughout the course of your life.
Nice.
The rest of us don't have those options.
Oh.
So jealous. Yeah. And so what you're doing is, you and I are similar for the first 28 to 30 years of your life. We're both investigators. We both got, and you're literally a paranormal investigator.
Yes.
That person will get that profile line gets very interested in things. Then when you're 30 to 50 years old, you take a step back and you start to kind of synthesize all of the learning from those first 30 years. You start to kind of put the puzzle pieces together. Mm-hmm. Does this make sense? How does it make sense? Where does it fit in? And then when you get to be around the age of 50 and then on, you have become this integrated role model. So you have this higher perspective, which is what I just get to be the investigator. I never really get to stand on the mountain and go, I see the bigger picture. What's really cool about that piece is that you can say to people, there's a little bit of experimentation in there too, right? Mm-hmm. It's not purely research for the sake of learning things. But you can say to people, when you're in that third phase, listen, here's what I know. Let me shorten up the learning curve for you. Here's what I did. Here's what I noticed. Here's what you want to do. Here's what you don't want to do. So it's such a beautiful, it's just such a beautiful profile line to have. And so I'm really mindful when I have somebody who's got that role model, profile. I really try to see everybody for who they are, but I say, okay, I'm really going to listen to the input that Karen's going to give me on this, or whomever it is.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
It is funny because I call myself a connector, which would exactly fit into that, where it's like, if you call me, if I don't know, I know who to send you to. And that's from all the years of investigating and sort of sitting on that. But I love that. All right. Awesome. And I'm 55, so I'm 5 years into the last.
Woohoo. You are in it. Yeah. Super cool. Well, and then the third thing that I think we can look at here are what we call your authorities. So each person will have a unique decision-making authority. And when you understand that you're designed to tap into your wisdom in a particular way and throw every other way out. Almost, I don't want to be so definitive. When you find out what your authority decision-making strategy is, it can be a lot of fun. So I'm trying to think here. There are 7 different possibilities, 7 different authorities. What's really important, or I think really interesting to look at, is there are parts of our human design chart that relate to the mind. So that's that conscious part we've already discussed, and it's peppered all throughout your whole chart. So there's these conscious aspects, and then there are what we unconscious or body wisdom aspects. And which is so cool.
And you were just saying authority. I didn't see authority on the list. Is that under a different word, or is it the combination of all of it together?
What do they call it here? Oh, it might not look okay. So the chart that I sent you probably doesn't list it out. It's more of a, they probably go, well, if Karen's a generator, that her authority is this. So I don't think they, which is probably an oversight on the software's part.
It's fine. It's fine.
So you'll probably see it in the notes closer to the top of what I sent you. So you have sacral authority. So we look at the chakra systems. We know the sacral is right around the navel area. It's the creative life force. That's what actually gives you energy as a generator. It's the most powerful engine in our energy system. And for you, it's lit up. So your authority, okay, so when we're looking at authority, what this is referring to is it's giving you a way to tap into your innate wisdom without engaging your thinking mind. Because the thinking mind, right, has been so programmed and conditioned by external sources, but we don't always have a way to go into our innate wisdom. Well, your authority in human design gives you a shortcut. So if you're a kind of person who's like second guessing, maybe there's a job you want to go for, or a decision you want to make in your business or in your life, your career, the mind can ping pong you around a lot. You can start to base your decision. What would so-and-so do? Oh, and you'll be lost. You'll be forever lost. Your authority. So when I'm giving people their authority, it's really important that they pay attention to what that is. And it will give you clues and ways to circumvent, go around your mind. So for you, you have sacral authority, which means, and it always sounds so funny to say this, but actually it doesn't. You're looking to trust your gut.
Yeah.
You know what people say? Just trust your gut. Like, many people don't have that ability.
And it's a weird phrase. It's a weird phrase. And I almost sometimes think it's the reverse, which means if something makes your stomach upset, that's a no.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But that's this year, all my podcasts have surrounded my sacral chakra, and I'm not kidding. They are all in that area.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
It's so interesting. Yeah. So for somebody who has a sacral authority, and a generator's will, not all of them, there are variations, but for the sake of your chart here, it's really, really awesome. If people can ask you yes and no questions when you're looking to make a decision, Karen, would you like Thai food or Vietnamese food tonight? You're looking to see that gut response. It's a yes or it's a no.
I'm good at that.
Amazing.
Because people, and I get whenever someone says, well, what do you want? I lose my mind. Like sometimes because I'm like, no, what do you want? But I'll be the one that can go, all right, I would like this or this. And I'll narrow it down and let them choose, because I'm trying not to be bossy. That's really what that is. It's being bossy. Yes, we're doing this. I'm trying to.
Right. It's like, right. I'm decisive. You're not. Here, let's meet halfway.
Right. Like when I became vegan, no one, it's like, everyone's like, how did you do that? And I go, I just made the decision, and then it was over. It was done.
Right. It was a yes. It was a resound. Yeah. So that's the best thing for people who have a sacral authority, with their sacral center being defined and lit up on their chart, is to really start listening to questions that offers that are coming to you that are a yes, no thing. So and then trust your gut. So again, just by contrast, I have what's called splenic authority. And I did laugh when I heard that. I was like, that is
Jewish.
Yeah, it was just a very different way to talk about the spleen. Oh, that's very splenic. Okay, so this is where we have some jargon with human design. So the spleen is all about fight or flight in this model. It's all about immune function, and it's going to give the person who has this definition clues into if this is a safe or unsafe decision. So I would say, people would say, your gut instinct. And I would go, yeah, I know my gut instinct. No, I don't actually. I was confusing this. So the spleen is really intuitive. What someone with a splenic authority can do, which is probably annoying to everybody else around them, spouses, best friends, whomever. A splenic person will get a message in an instant, and it'll be the yes or no, but it'll be more like, this is good for your life or this is detrimental.
Okay, so
it's a little bit dramatic.
It's a dramatic. Okay.
Yeah. And the message only comes once. It shoots off second by second by second. So you're literally, you're having to pay attention. It's like the doorbell rings once and only once with that message. But it's visceral. You feel it, but it's just not in the gut. So it's really cool when you figure out what your authority is and you go like, yeah, don't tell me to listen to my gut. That's not my thing.
That's so interesting too. And I hear that in with some of my tarot clients where they are certain things they just know. And there's no, you can't convince them any different and it's usually not a question. It's usually like, yep, I knew that was for me when I saw it. And that was that. Awesome. Oh, there's so much on it. I'm still just looking at the foundation chart. That there's so much here. And what's easier? Do you want to keep explaining or should I point out certain things that make that put a big question mark on my forehead?
Maybe I'll keep explaining because there's a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So taking a look at the chart and what human design offers people. So what's really interesting is a really good practitioner will say to you, hey, don't believe anything that I've said. And I actually, I've always, not always, but in my adult life, I do try to live by that principle because it's just so much easier, right?
Right.
It's like, you try it out for yourself, leave what doesn't work. So human design is really cool because it says, hey, don't believe it, but try it on as if it were true and see what you learn about yourself. And this can take, 3 months to 2 years to beyond to really play with it. I had this, just like how it works practically on the court, I learned I was a manifester. I'm not here to finish stuff. That would be a generator who would be really happy to see the thing through to completion. A manifester is here to cross-pollinate, to like rile big crowds up, whatever. So what I love to suggest to people is take what you've learned, today, take what you've learned about your charts, and then honestly apply it to your life. This is not a modality that it's not fortune telling. It's not going to tell you if you're going to have a baby or not, or if this is a good, it's just going to tell you how to operate in the world. So use it, get out in the world and start applying this stuff. So the moment and everybody should have this moment who works with human design. There was like this ecological thing going on in our neighborhood. I was new to the place. I thought it was a great idea. Yeah. I stuck my hand up. I'll take the petition around to 100 homes. Like I could do that. In my mind, it was like so easy. And people and the praise, it was really nice to have people go, thank you so much. Nobody stepped up. And it just like, I was so fed by the energy of that moment. Mm-hmm. So I got out, I got the petition, I got 4 houses in and I was like, 96 to go. And I was like, okay, well, that was fun. I'd like to go, back to my house now. It's a beautiful day. And I had no energy to finish it. I mean, I did my best over a course of weeks, but that was the moment that I realized what manifestor versus generator energy was.
Okay. And I would be the person that would grind their knees down to the bone trying to finish it.
Yes.
In an unreasonable amount of time, I might add.
Yeah, right. And actually, we can definitely talk about why that is on your chart for sure. So I will talk about that. But yeah, it was like, oh, okay. Like I'm already wanting to get on to the next thing and catalyze there, make an impact somewhere else. Like I'm not making an impact, having conversations with people door to door. This is not for me. So, when I look at your chart, Karen, so the root center, so, just like in the chakra system, right at the bottom of our spine, when I look at your chart, it's completely wide open. So it means, so we have like 9 centers, sort of mimics the chakra system with a couple extra, people will say your center is defined or it's undefined or open. Where and how it looks visually for the visual folks out there. When I'm looking at a chart, if your chakra, for lack of a better word, if your center has a color that's filled it up, you would be defined. If it's transparent, undefined. The areas
is undefined. Yes.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at your root, the root is like the pressure to get things done, to get things finished. And because it's undefined, where we're undefined, we're highly susceptible to the conditioning of those around us.
Perfect sense.
Where you are defined, you're like, no, I've got good boundaries. Boom. So for you to like wear yourself down to the knees, and just like do what it takes because you said you were going to do it. That's because you're part of why is because your root is open and you're feeling the pressure and picking up on the intensity of those who are connected to whatever that task is.
Okay. Yeah. So I have to tell you a childhood story for this. And it's so funny because when I was a kid, right, my dad was just so controlling and full of well, he was a great guy, not all the time, but he had his moments. And it's like when we used to go to a restaurant, he would suddenly decide we were done and you had like 3 seconds to get out of the booth or there was going to be trouble. And even now when I sit in a restaurant, sometimes it's like that bell goes off in my head and I'm like, we're done. And everybody's like, what do you mean we're enjoying ourselves? We're done. I've got to get out of here. I think that is like, now, even now we're in August and I'm like, I'm going to have all my podcasts done through the year. So
yeah.
So it's like
genius.
It's a disproportionate reality there with a time of when something has to get done because that's empty. So I'm running on my father's time still.
Yeah, Dad, take a seat for a sec here.
We're going.
We need to sit down.
Get in the car. Get in the car.
Yeah, it's interesting. So somebody who has a defined root will be more likely to work in like a cyclical push pull, like a push and then rest kind of thing versus going to bed at 1 a.m. because you said you were going to get that thing done. A defined root might be a little more lax in their ability to do that.
So would you just tell me to be aware of that, or how do I fix that? Or when I
definitely.
So I would ask a mirror. What's the mirror person?
A reflector?
I would ask a reflector, what do you think is a reasonable amount of time to get your podcast done in?
Yeah.
Right.
Or a projector. Yeah. You would go to a projector who's got that keen insight into you and just be like, hey, here's my goal. This is how I'm doing it. What are some other options that you see for me? And they will just be like, oh my God, you will give them so much energy by sincerely asking that question. And then what you'll get out of it is a couple of really good strategies. Yeah. So it's true. It's a great question that you ask. So what do you do with this now that I know this? So the practice would be the ongoing practice would be noticing when that energy's revving up, noticing when it's no longer coming from a place of joy where you have to finish stuff and it's more from obligation. And then tuning into, okay, who am I obligated? Who do I feel I'm obligated to? Because it'll be probably something you've assigned importance to more so than people are reasonable mostly. Are they? Right. I don't know.
No, people don't. My expectations are so distorted for myself, especially. And I feel like that's a lot of moms too. I feel like moms, even if they're not like their obligation to their kids and the things they feel bad about that they had no control over. It's just crazy.
And the more centers that a parent, especially a mom, in this case we're talking about, would have open, the more open centers they are, the more they're susceptible to the conditioning of those around them.
Wow. And
the
men,
shoulds.
Yeah. And men with being the responsible providers too.
Yeah. It's interesting when I look at your chart too, your solar plexus is undefined. It's open. So is mine, by the way. So what happens with people with that center that's open, we will feel the emotion of those around us. And we don't only feel it, we amplify it. And, I used to think that I was like a really emotional person, and it turns out maybe that's true, but I'm also with an open solar plexus emotional center, really amplifying and aligning with and feeling the emotions of those around me. So a really great practice when things feel emotionally overwhelming and you're open in this area is to say, like, is this mine? Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Can I be with it? Yeah, I can be with it. And then you let that person have their experience,
Yeah. That feels interesting to me because I think that's also a little bit why I turn into the hermit. Like, let's just be in my place. I need my space right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
So if people are they would come to you, some can come to you just out of curiosity. Others could come to say, I'm really stuck in this area of my life. What do you see?
Yeah, exactly. Those are really the two types of people that I deal with. I love both. Often when I'm doing a reading for somebody, just like they want to know more about their chart, so many times it's like I would say to them, yeah, you should really start to learn more about human design. There's such a keen interest. And I think the interest it's reaching a critical mass. I think it's going to be sort of infiltrating the sort of spiritual world more than it has since 1987. And then the other ways that I like to work with people, I have a very strategic mind. So my design is set up to really be able to see things on trajectories and to help people untie knots that they have. So I love strategy. I love problem solving. And so when they come to me with a particular issue that they're trying to chew out. So for example, I had a woman who said, like, the biggest thing that I've got going on is my partner and I are trying to conceive. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to talk to you about like the timelines of that in your reading today. What we're going to look at is how we can use your authority as you're going through fertility treatments and choosing doctors, how you can use your authority to better understand what's really beneficial for you. She was like, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. So that giving people tools to navigate the difficult situations in their life is what really excites me. And especially even in business, I love working with small business owners. It's just how I'm wired. So human design provides a really solid framework with rich strategies that we can dig into. Just remembering, like you and I were talking previously about manifestation styles. Like you're either a person who should be as specific as possible, or you're a person who needs to leave a little leeway and really get into the feeling of it. So I love to look at pieces like that when working with individuals, so that when they come away, they've got some really solid personal tools that are going to work for them specifically.
I think this is therapy on steroids.
It feels like that.
Yeah, no, I really like it because, I love therapy, and I think therapy should be government issue because everybody should be able to do it. But it can be years of sitting and accomplishing nothing, which is why it makes me crazy. Because
oh my gosh,
because generators can't sit in that, I guess. But I already have 2 areas that I'm going to call you back and go over. I'm going to book a reading with you and do this 2 areas and really figure it out. I cannot believe that time is up.
Agreed.
All right, Michelle, great job, because I do have to tell you, I've heard a couple of other podcasts on this that lost me, and I could follow everything that you said. You did such a great job. So, and it's going to be in the show notes, but tell everyone where to find you if they want to book a reading with you.
Okay, great. So the best place to find me and to book a reading is you'll find me on Instagram. I'm under Working Well by Design. And I've got a link in there that you can click through if you want a foundational reading, chart reading, or a strategy session. That's where you can find me.
That's great. And also the email, michelle@workwell.ca.
Sure. So it's michelle@workingwell.ca.
Okay. Yeah. Because I'm amazed at how many people don't have Instagram. Instagram is the one. It's the cheerful one. It's the one. It's the one that
the hero.
Crazy.
Yeah. Me too.
Michelle, that was fantastic.
Thanks so much, Karen.
All right, honey. I will talk to you soon. Everybody, I'll see you. Everybody, thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. I will see you hopefully in Arkansas if it's September 11th. Oh, no, we're after. I hope I saw you last week in Chicago. Check out my tarot class online. If you can leave me a review, whatever else I forgot. Thank you, folks. Have a great week.